Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Hope you're having a great day as we continue to celebrate so many wonderful people across the great state of Mississippi who are working in the trenches to make this a great place to live, work, and play. One quick note before we get to our guest. One of the things I always like to talk about this time of year is to remind people to shop local. So many unique gifts as we barrel toward Christmas. It's a great opportunity to get out into your town. Every town in coastal Mississippi has its own special sense of place, and that's true across the state of Mississippi. So go to your town and find that unique gift. And I can absolutely assure you that the local retailers that are, really dedicated their lives to what they do, they're the ones who are giving to your local sports teams. They're the ones who are giving their time from a volunteer point of view into their community. So let's support them. Shop local. I think you'll be glad you did. Okay, my guest this morning in the first part of the show is the Chief of Police for the city of Pascagoula, Terry Scott. And he's someone, when I had the mayor on recently, the mayor just raved about him. And I've heard great things about Terry, and I've been really looking forward to having him on the show. But without any further ado, let's get to know the Chief of Police for the city of Pascagoula, Terry Scott, better this morning. Terry, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Good morning, Rick.
It's good to see you. So, you're a lifelong resident of Pascagoula, huh?
Yes, sir. Been here all my life.
And you've been the chief of police since 2023. That had to have been a special moment for you to have worked your way up you actually were in reserves at one point, kind of work your way up, had so many key positions to become chief in your hometown. That's got to be quite a feeling.
It was definitely an honor because when you start out here as a patrolman, you look at the upper management as like, how would I ever get there? And when it comes to light, it's like, just very thankful and very humbled. Serve a great city. Can't go anywhere in this city without talking to people and praising the police department, which really thrills my heart because, we have a great community.
Well, listen, as the mayor mentioned, and as sort of your reputation, this whole notion of compassion and heart and leading, being a solid leader who cares about people, where does that come from, Terry?
I think I'd have to give that to my precious little grandmother that's passed, the greatest little Christian woman I ever met in my life, never had a bad word to say about anybody, and was just the biggest role model of my life.
Yeah, that is awesome. How did you decide that law enforcement was going to be where you were going to put your life stake?
Well, I had no idea that I was going to do this. My best friend growing up is now a city councilman. He was a retired lieutenant from here, but he talked me into come riding out in the reserves with him one night, and I'm going to tell you, that's all it took, one night.
That's something, man.
5 years with it, yes.
Well, I went to University of Alabama in Birmingham right out of high school and became an advanced paramedic and worked as a paramedic for about a year and a half and then part-time for several years when I continued in pre-med, but ultimately changed my major, went on to get an MBA, and the rest is history. But I, too, remember the first time I rode with my police friends, and the first time I rode on an ambulance and worked with the fire department, all these rotations you have to do when you're in paramedic school. And I was hooked, man. I was really hooked until I wasn't hooked. The truth is, what my personality wouldn't have fit being an emergency room physician, which is really what I wanted to do. I saw a little bit too much death and dying, and when you're a doctor, you have to take a leap of faith. And I wanted to pick something to have a career in where I could really kind of have a little bit more control over the situation. But you were raised in an environment in the law enforcement community where you just have to sometimes accept that some things are beyond your control, and best you can do is bring as much order to the situation as possible. And that you've found peace in that, haven't you?
Yes, sir. I don't know how to explain it. You just it's almost like a gift when you can calm down and you can calm the situation down with whatever they're going through. And my 25, count 30 years in reserves, seen some pretty horrible incidents where it's just if you harped on it, it would probably drive you crazy. And the worst ones that bother me is when you see children and being in a small town. There's so many times I had to be the one to go knock on the doors of families, and I know them, and it's just it can be tough. But what I have
Yeah, I
learned,
know. Yeah.
they're not wanting to hear what you have to say anyway. They just want you to hear them, and you just be there for them, love on them.
Isn't that true, man? Yeah, I have to say that as a result of my experiences, I often tended to be a little bit overprotective of my kids and grandkids, and people would say, "Man, you're a little bit too safety conscious. Let them enjoy themselves." I said, "Oh man, you don't know. If you've seen what I've seen, and I've seen all these situations, what happens when they get out of control, and I don't ever want to see that again. I don't want to see it with my kids, that's for sure." But I tell you, law enforcement has changed. One of the interesting things about the conversations that I've had with law enforcement leaders across the coast of Mississippi and really across the state is that you have to be a little bit psychologist, you have to be a little bit social worker, you have to be a little bit lawyer. It's a tougher gig than it was when you first came into this, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I'd hate to start over again. I mean, that's what they have to know and learn now. And I've been groomed for this for 30 years. And these young folks come in, just like you said, they have to be a doctor, lawyer, teacher, therapist. You have to know about all the laws. I mean, people are so happy, and we got to make sure we don't step on somebody's rights, and it's tough for them.
Hey, we'll come back to recruitment. Go ahead, say that again.
I said we have great training. The city of Pascagoula lets us train, and we go all over the place. Great schools. These officers are well trained when they come here. They're not just thrown out there and learn how to survive. They're trained.
Well, one of the things, and I mentioned it before we started the show, but if you look at what you've done, not just in terms of like learning the community for doing things like Leadership Jackson County, for example, but the crisis negotiator training certification you've got, the field officer training, the motorcycle instructor training, the FBI training that you've gotten. I mean, you've really kind of dedicated your life to being the best you can be, and that translates as a leader, doesn't it?
Well, if your heart's in it, you give it all you got. And I love this community. I could never see me leaving Pascagoula. I love to serve this community.
Hey, let's kind of back up a little bit. Where did you go to school, and what did you initially want to do with your life when you were younger?
Well, I went to Pascagoula High School, and I started working at Winn-Dixie when I was a 16-year-old kid. I spent 13 years there. I was the youngest meat manager Winn-Dixie ever hired. So I cut meat for many years. And in that process, I had a dream of fighting professionally. So I had a boxing career while I was in Mobile, Winn-Dixie, and then I left that. When that career was over, boxing, I got out of Winn-Dixie, went to work construction and learned how to pipe fit. And then I came to the police department.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll tell you a couple of things, man. Right off the bat, let's take Winn-Dixie, for example. I have a long-time friend of mine. He passed away a few years ago of a heart issue, but his name was Tim Meyer. We called him Hot Rod. Best friend you ever want to have, best listener you won't ever have. But he used to work at a grocery store. I mean, he started out at a grocery store. And what I remember about Tim, first of all, Tim was gifted with common sense, extremely smart. He could have gone on to do anything he wanted to do. But what he learned about how to be responsible and how to get to work on time and how to have responsibility and be a good manager and all that stuff from working at a grocery store is unbelievable what it did to carry over into other parts of his life.
That's so true. When I was working construction, I used to pick on them guys. A guy out there complain about the job, and I tell them, I said, the buggy boys work harder than y'all do. It's a different world. Winn-Dixie truly taught me how to work.
Hey, and listen, also, pipe fitting, you think about the amount of skill set that's getting passed down at places like Ingalls and how rigorous that training is and about this wisdom and the legacy of the older pipe fitters and the way they're helping those younger guys learn about there's no margin for error and all that stuff. That's a great experience as well.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough in my career. Now you're talking 25 years ago when I was working construction. You were out there with true craftsmen. I mean, they were perfectionists, knew their job. And my daddy taught me at a young age, even if you know something, keep your mouth shut. Let them tell you might learn something else out of it. And that's what I did. And I played it to my advantage, and they taught me a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know you must have for sure. And you've parlayed it into the role that you've got today. We're visiting with the Chief of Police for the city of Pascagoula, Terry Scott, somebody I've been really looking forward to having on the show. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk about some of the challenges that he has to face today. We've seen a rise in younger people being involved in violent crime. You know, every police chief talks about recruitment and why that's important and why that's a challenge. We'll talk about all those things when we come back on the other side of this break, but we'll see you shortly. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We're visiting with Pascagoula Police Chief Terry Scott, someone, as I mentioned, have been really looking forward to having on the show. I guess you can already tell that he's a guy who's super committed to what he's doing. Let's spend a little bit of time just talking about the here and now. You know, what's the world like? I've had so many conversations from Sean Tyndall to a long list of leaders in law enforcement about some of the unique challenges that we're facing today. And Pascagoula has to deal with those as well. But why don't you talk about how things have changed and what some of those current challenges are that maybe you didn't have a few years ago?
Well, in our city, we're still pretty respected here with the community. We really don't get mistreated by the community, but this younger generation does show a lack of respect for law enforcement, which has been more of a challenge for us. A lot of our shootings is going to be young folks, and we're working hard as we can to reach them. And we got a little program here where they can come hang out with a police officer, go to lunch with a police officer. People bring us, teenagers all the time to talk to, and we really try our best with that to help these kids see the other side. We spend a lot of time in schools. We talk to people in the public. We interact with so many young folks out there that people don't realize or don't see. And we just have several officers here that are just committed to getting out there, finding these young people every day and talking with them. And it's making a big difference here too.
Hey, listen, I had a conversation with a mayor recently who said that, there's been a lot of talk, and this is true, and what's happening in Washington is true, and what's happening in Memphis right now. But database analysis today is really valuable because you can begin to understand, is this person that you're dealing with here generationally attached to a family that's had a lot of crime? And what they end up discovering is that's a lot of crime. I wouldn't say the vast majority because it's going to change from city to city, but a significant amount of crime ends up coming from, say, 8 or 9 or 10 different families. And have you done a similar analysis like that? And it might change the way these conversations take place.
We run all kinds of statistics all the time. I don't believe we ran that one, but I do know what you're saying. I had a young man call me the other day that when I was a young patrolman, he ended up doing some prison time and got back out and called me about me sitting down with his son, which is 13 years old, and because he's worried about him getting in the street. So he's trying to break that cycle. So we appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I was the publisher of the Times-Picayune, so I spent a lot of time with Mayor Mitch Landry, and I've mentioned this on the show many times, but Mitch and I spent a lot of time talking about the youth crime problem in New Orleans. And he said, what he's found in talking to a lot of these young people is that if they don't have a father or some older responsible adult being their mentor, they're going to find a mentor. So if you got a 14-year-old kid, his mentor might be somebody who's 15 or 16 years old. And because they're under pressure, it's not like Bloods and Crips. You know this as well as I do, but it's more neighborhood based. And it can be very territorial, and sometimes they don't even know why they're fighting. But some of them don't expect to live through today, and they end up making decisions based on that kind of thinking because they're just, they're scared. Do you find that exists in some of the young people that you're talking to?
Yeah, and that's such a tough age too, because that's when the peer pressure hits them pretty strongly, and they don't know how to cope with it. And a lot of times, and what's heartbreaking is when these kids commit a violent crime, and then we have to bring them in and interview them, and you get them one-on-one. They're not as tough as they put on out there in the street. So they're having to put on that front to survive where they're at. But at the station, it'll break your heart. Like, this kid just made a bad mistake, but now he's got to pay for it. And you just hope.
Yeah, Mitch told me the same thing. He said it literally broke his heart to sit down with some of these young people who made a terrible decision based on the reality that he didn't expect to live through today because of the pressure he was under. And so he made a terrible decision. But when you get them and take away all that junk and just sit down with them one-on-one, you see a lonely, scared young man who's now in serious trouble because of something he's done. And what they were trying to do is trying to get to young people before they made that terrible mistake and just say, man, there are ways out. You look at this venue or that venue or this fork in the road. You've got these people you can talk to. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But you got to try, don't you, Chief?
Absolutely. Every day. It's an everyday battle. And we hit the ground running. It's
so important. Hey, so let's talk about recruitment for a second. How is it going? You got any open positions, and how do you go about recruiting these days?
Well, recruiting's been very challenging the last few years. Used to, if you put out a spot for a police officer, we'd fill the cafeteria up at the high school for applicants. And now, if you put a clerical job out there for the police department, you'll get that same reaction and maybe 3 or 4 people for a police officer. So it's been a little harder. When I first took over, we were down 18, and we have 2 slots open now. So we're doing pretty well with recruiting. We hit it pretty hard on the social media. I don't know if you watched the police department social media. We got right at 40,000 followers, which is almost double our population here. And it's a pretty positive tool we use. And we go to Keystone Air Force Base. We talk to those retiring we're getting through with their 4 years, want to transition and still serve the community. That's working for us. Mississippi National Guard. So we're right at full now, and which is pretty impressive. It's hard to get them hired now. And then we have a pretty strict hiring process too, and it's a lengthy process. So you might get 5, and by the time you're through with the 5, 1 may qualify. So it's been a little harder.
Yeah, I see that, and that's what I'm hearing from others. You know what's interesting, and you probably get this well since you talk about compassion and heart and caring about people, is that, and this is true of corporations, people don't necessarily leave corporations. They leave their manager. So if they're not led well, they're going to find somebody who will lead them. And but if they respect who they work for, I'm talking about the direct report, the person they work for, you have a better chance of retaining them. You understand that, don't you?
Absolutely. I don't micromanage. We have a great command staff. We're involved with all our employees here. My door's open to anyone. They know we don't really have to do the chain of command. If they want to come bleed on me, they can come right on here and talk to me. And, and any deputy chief, the captains and down, they can talk to whoever they want. If you feel confident talking to me, then come on, talk with me. We'll get through it.
Yeah. Well, the door is open, and sometimes people say that, but they don't mean it.
We mean it. And another thing we do here is we address a problem immediately. If something's brought to our attention, we address it then. We don't let it fester and grow and become a bigger hill than it has to be. Sometimes they're touchy conversations. We get the problem solved.
Well, listen, in the short time we have left, I want to come back to, how, again, leading with compassion and whatever. But when you're out and about, when you go to city council meetings or you just go somewhere for lunch and just spend time in the community as the police chief, that's got to be an awesome feeling to just be someone who cares about people and wants to hear what they have to say.
As a police officer here in Pascagoula, you can feel love all day, every day. I don't care where you go. We are so well treated by the public here. The media puts a lot out there. A lot of that could be up north. They catch a beating up there pretty good, but it's just not that way here. It's a close-knit community, wonderful people, great. We're growing, businesses coming in. We put together a crime suppressant team, and which has been amazing. We've covered a lot of crime. There's a lot goes on behind that people don't see. They work all your odd hours. Like we start having problems at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, these folks come out and handle it, and we put a curve to it.
That's exciting. And one of the great things about having the downtown revitalization that's happening right now and other really positive economic development in the city, what that means is more tax revenue coming into the city and more opportunities to increase the size eventually of the police department and fire department, all these crucial services that are what makes a community safe. And that's the role you play. Well, listen, we're out of town for today, but it's been a genuine pleasure to spend some time with you. And I can't wait to get back together again, and we'll just keep drilling down and talking more about what's happening at the City of Pascagoula Police Department.
It was a pleasure talking with you.
You bet. This has been Chief Terry Scott from the Pascagoula Police Department. It's been a really cool visit. Hey, when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll see you after this.